April 15th, 2020. To me, so far, personally to me, and I'm sure a lot of us, it was one of the darkest and one of the saddest days for wrestling fans. Besides any, major deaths that we had, such as just today, we had Howard Finkel pass away at the age of 69. I would say the hardest one had to have been Ultimate Warrior's death back in 2014 when he died. Not even 2 days after he made that big speech on Raw the night after WrestleMania when he had been inducted to the Hall of Fame. Yesterday, though, was just a very, very hard day for us wrestling fans. And I come to you, of course, with more graphics with nobody in this background because it's just sad. Yesterday, because of the certain circumstances going on in the world right now, there's a lot of people who are not able to work right now because they're not able to get business because of what's going on around the world right now with this virus. And it's just sad. And WWE had said, even though they should be taking time off, instead they declared themselves through the Florida government essential media, which I've already ranted about that. But then on last Friday, April 10th, when they had released the Revival, Dash Wilder and Scott Dawson, now Cash Wheeler and Dax, I keep forgetting. I just saw it the other day on Instagram, checking it very fast. But what is Dash Wilder's? Well, no, he's Cash Wheeler. Scott Dawson is hold on. Dax Harwood. Okay, Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler now. When they released them, they said the reason why WWE actually came to terms with the release is because of the cuts they need to make to save money due to the current pandemic going on right now. And they said more was to come. But we got a lot more. We didn't just get like a small handful. We got a good portion. Especially a lot of people from Raw. We had some NXT. We had a couple from SmackDown. And we also had a lot of behind the scenes personnel. Coaches, producers, writers. A lot of big names. Well, I would say more so backstage. Most of the people who went as far as, wrestlers go, most of them I'm like, okay, WWE, is fine without them. There was maybe only one I would say that surprised me that they released. And there was a couple bigger ones. I'm like, you know what? I'm glad that they did what they did. Basically. As far as people coming back, I would say there's definitely a chance a lot of the backstage producers that were let go, a good amount of them may come back once this ends. As far as talent goes, I don't know. I'm not sure what we're going to get. But it's just sad because I just feel bad for these people. They have their lives, they have their bills to pay, they have their families to support and whatnot. These people went out of their way and they have wrestling end like this for them. Well, at least in WWE, this stint for now. Again, so many people may come back. Who knows? But I can't tell you for sure if any of these people come back. There's a good amount of people I definitely hope do not come back because I know they always get treated like crap once again. But what we're going to do here is for the next hour or two, I don't know how long we're going to be up here, we're going to go through the list. Of course, I made graphics for all of them, but except for just the staff. I just made just one graphic for that, just for one in particular who was released for that. But pretty much it's no secret of who all got released at this point, and most people. Now, there was one other that I heard about today, because I was looking through the WWE alumni page, and there was one that has not been confirmed yet by WWE.com as far as if they were released or not, but they were moved to the WWE alumni section for some reason, which I'm not sure why. But we'll talk about it When we get to it, first off, anybody in the live chat? Nope, it's okay. But again, guys, make sure to leave your thoughts in the live chat as well. As far as the actual list goes, I'd put it in order of relevancy, or like the biggest names, the biggest ones, or the ones that, or basically the ones that didn't surprise me the most will come first. Well, we're going to talk about the backstage personnel first that got cut yesterday. So let me read off that list. I'm not going to switch to the graphic yet because there's only one person on there. But so the backstage personnel that got released. First one I'm going to mention is Andrea Listenberger. Now that name, I didn't know who that person was, but the biggest circulation about that name is that's the name of the head writer who is writing the Otis and Mandy Rose storyline. Which, hats off to her for sure for actually writing a great, compelling story. But now that she's not around, it has me worried. How are they going to? Who else is going to touch this, and it's going to get messed up? Because it was actually a quality story, but now I feel like it might make into something cheesy and whatnot. Or just again, I'm still hoping for something bigger, because tomorrow on SmackDown we're supposed to be getting a talk between Mandy and Sonya as to why they did this. And I'm sorry, but I really don't want it to be just, I just don't think Otis is good enough for you. He's ugly, he's this, he's that, blah, blah, blah. No. Spice it up a little bit, as I keep saying. If they want to go as far, because I know Sonya Deville one time pitched the idea of doing a lesbian storyline. Because in real life, she's a lesbian, and I think she can make it work. If they want to go that route, fine by me. But I just feel like they're going to make it something cheap and cheesy and whatnot, and they're going to make a feud that actually was really good to get behind. Well, of course, it had the right outcome at WrestleMania, but it didn't have the crowd behind it, so that was unfortunate. But I just have a feeling that might get screwed up. Other names that were released, we got Alyssa Marino, John Quasto. Now, this person was more so an interviewer or an interviewer backstage, an interviewer or whatnot. I think we've seen him in either NXT or NXT UK. Josiah Williams. We also had Jerry Soto, Kendo Kashin, Ace Steel, Serena Deeb, who is a coach with the women's division, and also, that name also is familiar because one, she was in one of the Mae Young Classics, and two, she was actually the female member of the Straight Edge Society years ago, with CM Punk and Luke Gallows. Referee Mike Chioda was also released, which a lot of people say he's been there since 1989, so definitely a long time. Unfortunately, he got the cut. Mike Rotunda, Lance Storm, Sarah Stock, the crooked referee from back whenever that screwed Daniel Bryan, Scott Armstrong with that fast tap storyline, Sean Daivari, Pat Buck, Dave Finlay, or as we all know him as Fit Finlay, unfortunately, has been released as well, or furloughed. We also have Billy Kidman, Hurricane Helms, and of course the biggest name out of the production crew that got cut, Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle was working with WWE in production. He unfortunately got cut because of of this. I'm not sure if he will come back or not. But of course, his in-ring career ended last year at WrestleMania, even though it didn't end right. He is always just a sad way for it to end. He had his issues with the WWE, and Vince. Their relationship kind of fell apart when he left back in 2006. And then 11 years later, they were able to patch things up. He got inducted to the Hall of Fame. He was able to come back for another 2-year run, in ring, out of the ring. He did what he could. Yes, his in-ring return wasn't really that good when he came back, to be honest. I'm sorry, I hate to say this, but Kurt looked bad in the ring, I thought. Especially when he did that freaking moonsault at WrestleMania 35. But, sad to see it end for him this way. Again, I don't know if maybe some of these backstage personnel will get their jobs back once this is over. I don't know, but I'd say Kurt Angle was definitely the biggest out of all of them that got released, unfortunately. So he was released from his contract, but that's all the personnel that got released. Again, 19 backstage personnel that I was able to find got released, including, again, Kurt Angle, Fit Finlay also, Scott Armstrong, Lance Storm, Mike Chioda was also a big one, Serena Deeb, I gotta mention her again, And then Andrea Listenberger again, who it was the writer for the Otis and Mandy Rose storyline. Again, that's definitely a big loss for sure for the WWE right now. And the other thing too, again, guys, this is not a day to celebrate really for these guys. I mean, yes, some of these guys are free after being terrible, but where are they going to go right now? Like, I don't know if AEW is going to take anyone else, or if Impact or New Japan or whatnot are. Just once things settle down, I would hope they would. But again, we can't guarantee anything right now with what's going on, and we don't know how much longer it's going to be until things can kind of start getting back to normal, which is sad. I mean, I hate it. On Saturday, it's going to be 1 month since I got laid off, and me being quarantined at home, and it sucks. But what can we do right now? So like these I'm not gonna praise these people for leaving and whatnot. I feel bad for them, but once again, once things settle down, there could be some good to come for these people for sure. But yes, so that's it for the staff that I want to mention. Now, this next wrestler has not been confirmed in any reports by WWE.com that he's left, but on WWE's website and on the app, he was moved to the alumni page. So let me just give my brief thoughts on this one. Cassius Ohno. So again, I was just scrolling through because yesterday it seemed pretty quickly they were moving people over to the alumni section on after being released yesterday, and they weren't up quite today. There were still some as of last night, and then I just checked probably like earlier today when I was throwing together these graphics again just to check one more time. And one person that I saw in the alumni section took me by surprise was Cassius Ohno. But WWE.com hasn't confirmed or have given out any news about his release. But to me, if he was released again, which once again I'm not going to praise him, but my thing was, what else is Cassius Ohno really going to do in the WWE right now? Like he came back in 2016, I believe it was 16. Yeah, no. 16, I think he didn't start coming on television until 2017, because his first match was against when he was still just Bobby Roode, when Bobby Roode was NXT champion. That didn't happen until 2017. But other than that, like he hasn't really done much. He's more just been just like a scrappy veteran putting on good matches, but I feel like he hasn't really gotten much development for himself. There was a little bit going on when he had that feud with Matt Riddle. That's when he slowly transitioned to being a heel. And then he moves over to NXT UK, claiming to be the greatest British wrestler, and I don't know, there wasn't really anything that stood out to me. I mean, he had that British Rounds match with Sid Scala. That, to be honest, I thought was nothing special. So, I don't know, I felt like he was just kind of going around in circles anyways. I don't know I mean, he's 40 years old now, so I'm not sure, how much longer he's going to be wrestling and whatnot. I mean, there's some superstars in their 40s, so I should say he's still going to be around. But if he's still here, okay. But if he's gone, all right. I'm not sure. But again, I just don't know like what the long term plan was for Cassius, or I mean, just like some scrappy veteran in developmental who was putting over stars. Like I felt that he could have been brought up to the main roster ages ago, for sure. But I just don't know why they never did. Of course, we all know the story that CM Punk mentioned, that when they asked, when CM Punk was creating his heater, which would of course eventually be the Shield, whenever he turned heel back in 2012, he didn't pitch Roman Reigns. He pitched Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, and Cassius Ohno. Well, also Chris Hero. But then they turned down Ohno and they picked Roman Reigns instead. So Cassius Ohno was originally supposed to be like the muscle man in the Shield, but it did not happen. Then he left WWE and he came back at the end of 2016 and then appeared on television until 2017. So I don't know, guys. I just don't know what the long-term plan really was for him. He just felt like he was just stuck in one place, I thought. And so I don't know if he's gone for sure or not. Again, I just saw him move to the alumni section on WWE.com, and most reports I'm reading, they noticed it too, but there has been no confirmation from WWE as to him getting released. But, we'll have to find out later. And also keep in mind too as well, these releases are not, done. I'm here there could still be more coming as time goes on. So we'll have to wait and see. But the next releases, I'm going to do pretty much almost all the ones that came from NXT except for one, because there was one that really surprised me and one that really broke my heart. But the first one was MJ Jenkins. The only thing I really remember about her was that she was in the Mae Young Classic. I think she had like one or two matches on NXT, but kind of more used as like an enhancement talent at the time. But she seemed like she had something to her, but I didn't really got to see too much of her. But she was one person that got released. Um, Another name on this list was oh, wait a minute, I think I forgot one. Hang on. I forgot. Ah, crap. I'm sorry, guys. My fault. There was one I forgot to put the graphic in for, and that was I must have wrote something down wrong. The one for yeah, that's why I must have miscalculated and missed it by mistake. Alexander Jaksic was also the other name that was released from NXT. Don't remember who the heck he was at all, but I forgot to put his graphic in the stream, so don't remember who he was, but he is what he is. Now, of course, this one I did remember. I couldn't remember at first when I saw the name, but I did remember. And that's Dorian Mock, or as we first met him as Dan Matha. Remember this man? Yeah, he was that guy back in 2017 or no, 16 when Samoa Joe was running roughshod on NXT, trying to get his rematch with Shinsuke Nakamura for the NXT Championship. And around the same time, they kept for weeks. They gave vignettes to Dan Matha to be making his NXT debut as some big star from Erie. He comes out to make his debut, and Samoa Joe attacked him, brutalized him. We never saw him on NXT Live TV again until recently. Well, I saw him on a couple live events when I went to an NXT Live event when it came here. He was there, and of course everybody booed him. And also, the last time I even saw him on TV, I think he teamed with Riddick Moss, I think it was, on an episode of NXT UK. But then that's when he was Dorian Mack. But he apparently got his release as well. So we have MJ Jenkins, Dorian Mack, Alexander Jaksic, whoever the heck his name was again. I don't know who the heck he was, or I don't even remember him at all. Maybe on like a random squash match on NXT. Don't know. But there were two more from NXT. One of them I'm saving until later because it's kind of a surprise. But one that really hit me hard because I actually was a huge fan of this woman, Deonna Purrazzo. Look at Deonna. A beautiful young woman, super talented in the ring. A lot of people compare her as like the Dean Malenko of the women's division, basically. This woman was definitely super talented. I loved her work in the Mae Young Classic. I loved her gimmick. Except I was still a little thrown off as to her being a heel recently in NXT. I thought that maybe since her and Chelsea Green are really good friends, I thought that maybe they were going to throw her in with the Robert Stone brand and kind of have like, her and Chelsea kind of be like a duo with Robert Stone and maybe throw some guys in there, who knows. Just kind of build up the brand a little bit more, but they didn't quite get that far with her. And the last time I had to see her, she got squashed by Nia Jax. But this one's always especially in my heart. I always wanted to see her, get pushed and succeed in the for the women's division. Also, she liked a couple of my tweets. Also, I gotta say, but was definitely one of my favorite upcoming women's wrestlers. Both one because she's beautiful, and she's close to my age, but she has a boyfriend, so I'm not getting hyped there, but still, this woman was talented, and I had a lot of hope for her. Of course, a lot of people are teasing online, maybe she'll go to AEW, maybe, who knows, I don't know, but I definitely would love to see her wrestle again somewhere. If it's an AEW, awesome. If she comes back, that'd be awesome as well. Of course, she has that story of how she was originally came to the first Mae Young Classic as an alternate, but I had seen her a couple times as like an enhancement talent in NXT. And I don't know, she's just someone who always caught my eye. And then when she was given the time she got in the second Mae Young Classic, I think she got to the quarterfinals, I think it was. I think she was like one of the final eight, I think. I'm like, oh great, she's going to stay in NXT. She has a contract. She has this opportunity, and she's going to rock it. She had a few matches in NXT UK against Toni Storm and think she had a match with Rhea. I know she had a match with maybe Rhea. I can't remember. It was somebody else. It was a heel, I remember, in NXT UK. But then she came to NXT, had a couple enhancement matches. She's had some matches recently, again, like in the qualifying matches. But again, they never really gave her much of a chance yet. But man, this one hit hard when I heard. Like when they said that they were getting to NXT talent, she was the first one announced. I'm like, ouch. Like this one really hit. Like I'm really gonna miss Deanna. Love this woman, and I had a lot of hope for her. So definitely one of the hardest ones for me personally was definitely Deanna getting released. Of course, speaking of emotional, this is probably the one that got a lot of buzz because of the video he posted. Drake Maverick was I think one of the first people announced that he got released in the first batch of releases. Really the first name. Drake Maverick, who I loved his work as general manager on 205 Live. Until they had him being a babyface there, and then the heel manager to the Authors of Pain on Raw. That made no sense to me. And of course, the whole piss storyline with AOP just give Vince several laughs backstage. Oh god, that was such terrible storytelling. I so hated that storyline for sure, especially the fact when he took Bobby Roode's robe into the bathroom and peed on it. That was just disgusting. And then what was weird in the Superstar Shakeup, well, the redo draft back in October, even though he was still general manager, he was moved to SmackDown. We saw him once or twice. I never did a turn up. I think that's when they kind of went full on heel for Maverick. He had some weird storyline with him and Dana Brooke and Elias just kicking the crap out of him. I know he was involved in a storyline with Mike Kanellis on 205 Live in an unsanctioned match. He had a couple other random little stunts. Oh, of course, how could we forget his obsession with getting the 24/7 title and not consummating his marriage with Renee Michelle, which I still thought at this point Renee Michelle should have just dumped him if he was taking that long to, consummate his marriage. But the only time he actually was attempting to was on an episode of Raw or SmackDown, which again made no freaking sense. But I still definitely had a lot of respect for Drake Maverick. His character was one of the reasons why I actually watched 205 Live for a while. Although he is supposed to be in this interim Cruiserweight Championship tournament, but WWE is allowing him to participate in that. So he is going to have a match next week against, I can't remember some random guy that I'd never even heard, Jake Atlas or something like that. But he's going to get a match against him, and then after that he's going to be done. So it's fortunate. He posted like a very emotional video. Really felt for the man for sure, but he had some ups, he had some downs, but I'll definitely miss Drake. And I thank you, of course, Drake, for giving me, for helping drawing the interest to the Cruiserweight division for me for sure. Thank you, Drake. The next person on my list is someone I'm surprised didn't get released ages ago, Aiden English. Although Aiden English, the past 2 years, he was back and forth on commentary with 205 Live, and I think some with NXT UK also. I thought he was a pretty good commentator. I'll give him credit there. But after they split up Rusev Day, I knew that English was pretty much done. Honestly, I'm surprised they didn't release him after Simon Gotch got released as well. Back in 2017, I think he got released. Yeah, 2017. When Gotch got released, I never saw any singles potential in Aiden English for sure. Never did. I thought he was going to be gone not too long after that as well. Just be pretty much reduced to nothing. But then they threw him with Rusev, and of course, at first, I wasn't behind Rusev Day, but then they abruptly ended that. Rusev Day should have had a run with the tag titles for sure, but we'll get to that later also. They tried something with that whole One Night in Milwaukee storyline, but to me, they just gave the ending to it way too quick. And then after that, Aiden English was basically written off of TV as a wrestler and just moved as a commentator, which I was fine with. Again, I thought Aiden did a good job on commentary, but I never really saw anything in him as a single star. Of course, they ruined the Vaudevillains. I mean, they weren't the greatest act in NXT, but they were a solid act in NXT. I thought they had a really good match against the New Day back at Extreme Rules in 2016. I remember there was a spot in the match where I thought they were going to win. They actually looked pretty good. But of course, they kind of got backlashed on a little bit because partially, one, not completely, but things happened with, of course, the Enzo Amore injury, which of course we all know the big secret. Simon Gotch and Enzo Amore hated each other, and Gotch did some really big shoot interview and just went off about Enzo and went on and on and on. I actually do enjoy listening to because he actually was a pretty decent storyteller. I gotta say, Gotch is, but he does seem like he's kind of a jerk to begin with. No offense, but just my opinion. But he's allowed to have his, for people he can stand, people he can't stand. Whatever. But I think the reasons why that they kind of started getting backlashed on is because they said don't post anything on social media about it, but then Gotch is like, well, that why not? Because we will definitely get heat. We're heels. We gotta make them hate us, and they did it. And that's when they started just jobbing them out for sure to everyone else, and that's when, of course, eventually Gotch got released, and then English was then stuck with pretty much nothing except when he was with Rusev for Rusev Day, which once again they did not capitalize on them at all. But let's check the live chat really quick. I see stuff in the live chat. What's up, Tyler? That guy was in the GRR match, the Greatest Royal Rumble match in 2018. Oh, Alexander Jakasik, whatever his name was. I didn't watch the Greatest Royal Rumble. I was on vacation actually when the Greatest Royal Rumble happened. When I came back, I remember I tried doing a live reactions to the Greatest Royal Rumble. I got so bored through it, I actually just abruptly stopped it and just deleted the stream. But I actually never saw the whole thing of the Greatest Royal Rumble because I thought it was pointless. The OC is dead, thank God. Now AJ is going to be back on his own. We'll talk about that in a little bit. What's up, Aiden H? Did you see when Randy Orton said why he attacked Edge? Yes, that was a good segment. And we all know Sammy is a new Enzo. We all know that, Tyler. But moving on in the list. Next up is one that I expected also. Eric Young. What was he going to do on his own? Nothing. I liked him with Sanity. As a single star, though, never really saw anything in him. Even, I remember, I've referenced this a lot. He did come to NXT as a single star while Samoa Joe was champion. And his first match, and Eric Young's first match, was against Samoa Joe. Wasn't super impressed with him, to be honest. But then I liked the stuff he did with Sanity. And then they called Sanity up to the main roster. They had some copyright issues with him at first when they first came up. But then they literally did nothing with Sanity after that. It was a shame, because I actually liked Sanity. I thought they could have gone to higher lengths. Even NXT, I felt, didn't hit their highest points with Sanity, but they were still a great act. But once they split them up, I'm like, okay, like, what's the point of them now, pretty much? And Eric Young, who I think was working at times, helping out backstage as a producer, he was just appearing into squash matches to put over people on Raw and SmackDown after that. And he basically just looked like a jobber to begin with. So this one does not surprise me at all. But Eric Young was released. Of course, number 9. About Time. The Colognes. Which again, this is not a video to say about time they let these guys go, because once again it was from budget cuts. But man, I gotta say, why are the Colognes still under contract? Like they came over to SmackDown. Well, they came back as the Shining Stars. They were, I didn't notice for the longest time, but they were actually Los Matadores. I did not know that was them. But they came back as repackaged as the Shining Stars. A lot of people said that Carlito should have came back with them as well. Sure, well, let's just the witness Carlito. But I wasn't digging the Shining Stars. I thought they were, ridiculous. But then when they went over to SmackDown, they revamped as the Colognes, had more of an aggressive attitude. I was digging it a little bit. I'm like, okay, I kind of see it here. I wasn't completely for it, but I'm like, I'm kind of digging this. But then I think Primo got injured, and it's like they never showed up. Once in the blue moon, Primo showed up as a job or something, but it's they were never there. It's like, why are these guys still under contract and still with the company if you guys are going to do absolutely nothing with them? I was just confused. I'm just like, are they gonna actually wrestle? And I heard at one point, I heard they did do some wrestling event outside of WWE, but they were still under contract, which I didn't get that at all. So this one was not a surprise to me for sure. It happened. I'm just like, okay, just say it happened or whatnot, because I'm just like, no offense, like these guys have done nothing since like summer of 2017. Like, why are they still under contract? I did not get that at all. But that's number 9. Um, the next one, okay, this one was no surprise either to me. No way, Jose. No way, Jose. Why did they call him up to begin with? Why was he ever called up from NXT? Like seriously, like NXT was not even using him for months. Like he had the feud with Austin Aries. He had a pretty good match at Takeover Brooklyn too, and then he just went to absolutely like nothing. Like, what was the point of it? Like, why did they not use him for months? And they called him up. I remember hearing also. I heard a rumor that back when they first brought back the brand split, he was going to come up instead of Mojo Rawley. I heard a rumor they were going to bring up They were going to bring up No Way Jose instead of Mojo Rawley, which I'm like, he's not ready. I still didn't think he was ready. I didn't think he was. I mean, I thought he was fun in NXT, but I didn't think he had anything special to him. To me, he came up and all he did was become the newest Adam Rose with the conga line, his Kermit the Frog green hair. I'm like, he's not going to get a mid card feud in there or anything. He was just an enhancement talent. I thought that they brought up, and I just wasn't a fan at all. I'm no offense. I just didn't think his gimmick just stood out in the main roster. I mean, I thought he was fun in NXT, but I just saw nothing when he came to the main roster. I'm like, yeah, give him a year or two, he's gonna get released, unfortunately, which I was not hoping for that, but this one doesn't surprise me, the least, unfortunately. But again, I don't want to bash on these people, but I'm just giving my opinions on their characters and whatnot. Like, most of these guys, as I said, are people that the WWE wouldn't be hurting from releasing for sure. Again, actually the bigger names, I'm like, I'm glad they got their release. But once again, not in these circumstances, but once things settle down, they're going to be able to go and do better things. Long-term veteran number 11 here, Heath Slater, was released as well. He was with this company for 16 years, dating back to the Nexus. I know he, of course, then had Slater Gator with Titus O'Neil, 3MB. Of course, my favorite run with Heath Slater, of course, was definitely when he was tag champions with Rhino. They actually got me to care about Heath Slater. That was a shocker. Before then, I couldn't even give two craps about Heath Slater. But I do think Heath was always a dedicated veteran. He tried the best he could. But this one doesn't surprise me because he wasn't even being on TV that much. Well, he had a match or two with Daniel Bryan after Daniel Bryan lost to The Fiend. But I mean, he's one person that he tried. He did his best, but again, he just unfortunately never really hit any high peaks. And again, the highest point of his career, I would still say again, was when he was tag champions with Rhino. I liked the run he had there. And then they eventually dropped the titles to Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton at TLC in 2016. A great pay-per-view for sure, but definitely gonna miss Heath. And guys, come on, he's got kids. He didn't need to be released. He's got kids. Feel bad for the guy. That storyline was actually really good. I love for Heath. Yeah. So that one. That one's been released. Number 12, Sarah Logan. Of course, Sarah Logan got written off TV pretty much this week after taking that vicious stomp to her arm in her match with Shayna Baszler for the Money in the Bank qualifier. Sarah Logan, I'm kind of like surprised she was released, but I'm not completely surprised at the same time. I didn't really see much in her, unfortunately. I know a lot of people said she had great work outside WWE on the indies, which I think she would have been allowed to blossom with a little bit more. But once again, she came in the Mae Young Classic, had like one or two matches in NXT, and then got called up with the Riot Squad. Okay, I thought she was nowhere close to being ready at all. Like if Aaliyah, for crying out loud, can't get called up to the main roster, why was Sarah Logan called up? I just always thought she was very green in the ring. I thought she definitely needed more time in NXT for sure. I just don't know why they brought her up to the main roster when they did. Of course, I'm surprised they released her also because she is the wife of Raymond Rowe. Well, Rowe, I'm sorry, Eric from the Viking Raiders. Um, so that sucks, unfortunately, that they're not going to be working in the same place anymore. And of course, the probably, I mean, I'm not sure if it is the case or not, but probably the business that brought these two together. But I wish her the best as well. As she's only 26. She's only, I think she's like 2 or 3 weeks older than me. I think, which I always say that, and also always mention how Sonya Deville is 2 days younger than me because I was September 22nd, 1993. Sonya September 24th, 1993. But definitely 50-50 about Sarah Logan getting released for sure. But I still wish her the best. Number 13, one I kind of expected somewhat, Eric Rowan. So Eric Rowan, let's get this straight, comes back. First off, I'm surprised Eric Rowan was not released ages ago. I mean, he tried. Anything he participated in, I'll give him credit. He tried. I never was high on him though as a single star. I never really was. Of course, I think his best was when he was the Bludgeon Brothers, because obviously the Wyatt family. I hate to say this, but I always thought he was the weakest member of the Wyatt family. And then he got injured a lot, and then the last time he came back from injury, he was Daniel Bryan's intellectual peer, which I did enjoy his run with Daniel Bryan. I did think that worked out good. I wish they would have done more with them as tag champions. But then that whole botched storyline with Roman Reigns, which should have been revealed to be Daniel Bryan, or even if Roman was the person who did it, they should have kept him and Bryan together to set up for a match with Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan, which I think that was a big missed opportunity whenever Daniel Bryan was a heel. But then it just made it out to be Rowan, and then Rowan beats Roman at Clash of Champions. Then they lose to them. When Luke Harper came back briefly, and then him and Harper and Rowan lose to Bryan and Reigns at Hell in a Cell. Even though apparently, according to the Exalted Escape of Brody Lee podcast on Talk Is Jericho, apparently originally Rowan and Harper were supposed to win that match at Hell in a Cell last year, but then they switched it. And then they were supposed to stay together as a tag team until Harper's contract ran up. But then the next night was with the draft, and they said that Rowan's going to Raw and Harper's going to SmackDown. Well, Harper never really got picked for anything, anyways. He got sent home. But then again, they had this dumb thing with him in that cage, just to be some random robotic spider, and it just. It did nothing. It was pointless and everything, and after that, his character was just dead in the water. So I kind of expected Eric Rowan to get cut, unfortunately. But again, I give him credit. He tried. He did try to make it work. It just never stood out to me, unfortunately. But that's number 13. Let's do one more. Watch y'all, since the next two kind of tie in together a little bit, I'll do those. I'll wait after to check the live chat. The same man who beat Reigns and then gets a box with a toy and now is gone. Yes, exactly. That's what I said about Eric Rowan for sure, Tyler. But the next one, kind of surprised, but kind of sad also. Well, not surprised, I meant kind of sad. Zack Ryder. Zack Ryder has been with this company for a long time. The Edgeheads with him and Kurt Hawkins. He was getting somewhat of a push in the beginning, about 10 years ago. But then, of course, he was kind of in like the middle of that whole embrace the hate storyline. Also, he got heat because of his internet show he did on his own, and because he got over on his own. And how dare you get over on your own, Zack? You have to get over the way we write you, because we own you. I want to own Zack. He is my property, as Vince McMahon would probably say. But Zack Ryder, unfortunately, he wasn't on TV much for the past several years. Back in the middle of the 2010s, he asked to go back to NXT, and him and Mojo Rawley formed a tag team, the Hype Brothers, which they were a fun team, but not the best team in the world. But they were a fun act. Then they split them up, and then Zack Ryder was kind of like doing nothing for quite a long time. And then they put him and Kurt Hawkins back together, They're saying, yeah, we're both losers. And yes, they won the tag titles at WrestleMania 35, but once again, they like mentioned it at the beginning, and then all of a sudden, bam, like they were just gone. But then out of the blue, oh, Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins are gonna get a tag title opportunity against the Revival at WrestleMania. Like, but you literally just like mentioned the story like one time months ago. They disappeared, and you did nothing to build it up. But it led to Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder getting a WrestleMania moment. I still think Zack Ryder's biggest moment of his career, which of course surprised me, was when he won the Intercontinental Championship for one night. Wish you would at least give him 1 month with that title. But he won the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania 32, which was definitely a career moment for him. Definitely the highest moment of his career for sure, and I was happy for him. Of course, he is dating NXT superstar Chelsea Green, which unfortunately they're going to be separated, but I think those two will be fine, even though they're not working in the same company anymore. But I'm going to miss Zack for sure. I definitely wish he could have been treated better, but not acting like a lackey. I also, another member of Zack Ryder I mentioned, I did like the match he had with Rusev for the United States Championship at Battleground 2016. I thought that was a really underrated match. It wasn't like I got greatest of all time, but as far as like remembering like good stuff with Zack Ryder, it was definitely like a match that I'm like, okay, it proved that Zack Ryder can have good matches. But I definitely saw this release for him coming. I'm surprised he lasted this long with the company, unfortunately, because of how they treated him. But I'll miss Zack for sure. Seemed like a really cool dude, and I wish him the best for sure. And then Zack's tag team partner recently, Kurt Hawkins, was also released as well. He actually was announced before Zack was announced. Kurt was one of the first people announced as well. I think the first batch was Kurt Angle, Drake Maverick, Kurt Hawkins, and then there were 2 others we haven't gotten to yet. I don't know why they really brought Kurt Hawkins back to begin with. They brought him back, and he did nothing but lose. Although I swore one time, not long after he came back, he got a win over Apollo Crews. I thought he did like not long after he came back in 2016. After at No Mercy, I think he came back in 2016, but never really saw anything too spectacular with him. I mean, there was 1 or 2 times where he kind of like cut a good line. I'm like, okay, I kind of hope he gets that win now, but it did not happen for him until, of course, WrestleMania 35. Again, when him and he got the pinfall victory when him and Ryder won the tag titles off of the Revival. But again, he just really didn't do much. And I mean, I guess he was for this gimmick of constantly losing and whatnot, but to me, it's just like I didn't care. Unfortunately, it's like there wasn't really too much of a story that got me to still root for him. Even though I guess when him and Zack teamed up, it was kind of a thing to help me get behind him. But once again, I just didn't really dig it, and unfortunately, he got cut. But again, I wish him the best as well. For Kurt Hawkins. Now, the next few are definitely some bigger ones for sure. One of them, again, that I'm very surprised with, which is next. This one surprised me. Lio Rush was also one of the first names, along with the one following this, that was released. But of all the names, this one I say was the only one that surprised me. I mean, I can guess you can say Lio Rush kind of ended up being in the same situation as Austin Aries. Well, back when, they were limiting everyone who was in the Cruiserweight division, I felt like you were never going to be getting out of the Cruiserweight division, it felt like to me, because, of course, Neville should have been out of the Cruiserweight division. He was not. Austin Aries basically was going to be stuck to nothing but the Cruiserweight division. Austin Aries was a lot more than just the Cruiserweight division, trust me. I saw him being like a CM Punk, to be honest. Lio Rush, yes, he's had some controversy. Yes, at times he was annoying as Bobby Lashley's hype man. But I still cannot deny that this kid, who is only 2 years younger than me, I believe it is, was super talented in the ring. A year or two younger than me. He was talented. Small, but fast, and he was talented. And I enjoyed his time for sure in the WWE. Although I will say, him returning as a babyface to NXT, I mean, yes, I'm glad he won the Cruiserweight title, but I feel like he really lacked the character, though, as a babyface. He barely talked on the microphone. I just remember one time he was sitting on commentary during a match with Angel Garza and I can't remember who it was, but basically said for Angel Garza to become number one contender and dethrone Leo Rush. But I remember he barely said much, and I was just like, this is not Leo Rush. Like I thought it was weird, but I'm definitely surprised they released him. I really didn't think so. I thought he was going to be in the interim cruiserweight tournament, for sure. I know he was attacked by Jack Gallagher when Gallagher returned and turned heel about 2 months ago. With all those tattoos on his chest, but again, I don't really watch 205 Live. I just saw the highlights, and I just saw that. But I'm definitely surprised he was released. But I kind of see maybe why now. Like, was WWE really going to make him anything more than just a cruiserweight or just a loudmouth who got his butt kicked on Raw when he was with Bobby Lashley? Because of how small he is, I don't think WWE really was going to do anything bigger with him than just the cruiserweight division, in my opinion. Unfortunately. Which they could have, because he's super talented, but he's like 5'6", 165 pounds, small dude. You're not gonna be seeing him doing much at all in the company. So we'll see where he goes next. But definitely, to me, the biggest surprise I would say was Leo Rush. But yeah, so definitely a shocker to me. But number 17, EC3. If there's anyone who I again, I hate to see EC3 lose his job, but if there's anyone that I definitely hope does not go back to WWE once, things start getting better, it's definitely EC3. Oh my gosh, how did WWE, well, I think I kind of know why EC3 got missed out on, got overlooked. Which I keep hearing rumors. Apparently, Vince gave up on him, and also this graphic of him looks super weird. Why does his nose look like super big? No offense, EC3. I'm not trying to make fun of your nose, man, but it just looks super big for some reason in this graphic. That's something that I really noticed till now. But anyways, so EC3 was one of those guys. I think. Again, in a podcast a couple years ago, Triple H was being interviewed, and he said there's some people he think are more meant for the main roster and not NXT. And the one person he referred to was Elias, which, in some ways, maybe so. But Elias still is not going to ever be like a world champion or anything. I still don't see it happen with him. Maybe like a mid card champion or like Mr. Money in the Bank. But I think he's done better on the main roster than NXT. EC3 though. They were supposed to call him up after SummerSlam in 2018. That's when they were going to call EC3 up. But he got that concussion, and he didn't get called up until that sixth batch of call-ups that were being advertised after the whole "we're not the authority, you're the authority" speech. And I think based off, even though I heard they had tried him out as, Drake Maverick being his manager on SmackDown, and then they just gave up on him. That's when Vince gave up on him. But I think from what I've heard in interviews, I think EC3 got the backlash because of what happened after Dean Ambrose was going to be leaving the company. Because right after that happened, that's when Ambrose and EC3 had that like mini feud. But then, of course, the crowd was rejecting EC3 as a babyface because obviously it's not EC3's fault, but even the WWE won't admit it. They were using EC3 to pretty much bury Dean Ambrose on the way out. And I think that's when he received the backlash, and Vince just held that against him, I think. And that's why he just got booked like crap on the main roster completely. The last time I think I even saw him on live TV, well, I remember when he was officially drafted to Raw after the Superstar Shakeup after WrestleMania 35. He was squashed by Braun Strowman. He basically was solidified as a heel, which I think EC3 was more meant to be a heel. I don't know why they turned him face in NXT, or in the fact that he was popular. But of course, I thought he was awesome in NXT before then. And then he just appeared once in the blue moon here and there in the background. I think he won the 24/7 title one time, I think, from what I remember. But again, he was just a huge missed opportunity for sure. He should have been a star on the main roster. And instead, he was a nobody. So, yes, I hate to see him get released and whatnot, but hey, I would love to see him go to AEW and basically either be a tag team with MJF or even feud with MJF. Like, these two are perfect entities for each other that can complement each other greatly, I still think. Yes, they're both not really known for their, in-ring ability, but on the microphone and just character-wise, they kill it. they kill it absolutely, and I definitely would love to see those two kind of be involved in some capacity in AEW. So I mean, again, I said before, this is not to celebrate anybody leaving, but if there's anyone who needed to get out of WWE and who needs to go to AEW for sure and not go back to WWE, it's EC3. I really think he should go there once the time is right for him. But he was also one of the first names on the batch of releases yesterday. Again, the first report releases were Kurt Angle, Drake Maverick, Lio Rush, EC3, and, well, there's one more. It was part of a tag team we're going to get to in a second. But first, we got to get to the next one, which is a married couple in real life, Mike and Maria Kanellis. Oh my goodness. I am sorry, but I hate to say it. I know these two, are parents. They have kids. They just gave birth to another kid recently. But signing that 5-year deal they signed last year was a huge mistake. Because they actually gave them TV time. And at first, the story they were telling, I was kind of digging. Because this whole idea, again, Mike Bennett, I didn't think he was going to be like a huge star for sure, but I think this whole act was more so to have Maria Kanellis stand out. And once or twice Maria actually did get in the ring at the Evolution Battle Royale, and also in the 2019 Women's Rumble. I thought she looked pretty good in the ring. Also, she was pretty good looking, period. I still will not forget that image of her coming out on 205 Live when her and Mike debuted on 205 Live in that black dress. Oh my gosh. I'm like, Mike, I am so jealous of you, pal. But again, I'm not that disgusting of a person. But when they re-signed those 5-year deals last year, I'm like, you guys just made a huge mistake. And it was true, because at first they started a storyline again with Maria Kanellis being pregnant, and Mike Kanellis is, Maria getting on Mike is going to keep losing, which I'm like, okay, there's a storyline there. Which was kind of a story on 205 Live also. They kept asking for opportunity, Mike kept losing. And at one point, I'm like, okay, fine. And I remember, I think it was a match he had with Cedric Alexander. I'm like, maybe he'll finally get an upset here on Cedric. It didn't happen. That's when I started. So I remember not long before that, he had a match with the Brian Kendrick. And it was a really good match. Like, I still say that match was probably Mike's best match, I would say. But then after that loss to Cedric, I'm kind of like, okay, this is kind of starting to get old. Especially after when Drake Maverick had told Mike that, coming up strong and loss isn't going to cut it anymore. So I thought, maybe that's, because that was around the time when Mike's contract was about, okay, maybe that's when they're going to write Mike off TV. That's when him and Maria are going to leave. No. They signed 5-year deals, stayed, went over to Raw, and had that storyline where it just, at first it was good, but then it started getting stupid with, this whole stuff with Mike and Maria and the baby, and Mike's not the real father. First she was accusing Ricochet of being the father. Then it was Rusev, and then it just disappeared, because these two could disappear off TV completely, and they pulled the plug on it. So we never had a conclusion to the end of that story. But when it happened, I'm like, you guys made the biggest mistakes of your lives signing those 5-year deals. And when these releases were coming, I mean, again, I hated to see them both go, because, definitely, they're both parents working in the same company. They need to pay for 2 kids, for sure. But I'm like, these two do not deserve to be, I mean, in some ways you kind of don't feel bad for them, because, they re-signed, it was their choice, but it's like, you guys deserve so much better. But, of course, being unemployed right now during a time like this is not the time. But I still hope the best for them. But they should, I still do not think they should have re-signed with the company, for sure, with those 5-year contracts. I'm sorry, I didn't think so. So definitely wish them the best. Like these two especially, because of them, being parents working in this company, both of them losing their jobs, and they have 2 kids at home. Like, I just hoping that something works out for them for sure outside of WWE. The next one, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, the OC. Another team that re-signed that I didn't think should have re-signed. But of course they both got cut yesterday. Well, individually, because Carl Anderson was the 5th person in that first batch of releases yesterday. And I'm like, they released Carl Anderson, but they didn't release Luke Gallows. But later on, they announced Gallows is gone. I'm like, okay, so they released both members of the OC. I hate to say it, but their run in WWE was a huge bust. I mean, it started off really good, especially when them and AJ got together at the beginning. But then they randomly they should have kept them together and had the OC go to SmackDown, and could have ran a rough shot there. Well, of course, I mean, things kind of worked out. Cause I don't know if they would have turned the Usos heel on SmackDown if they put the OC over there. Well, they were just the club at the time. But their best run was for sure 2016 when them and AJ teamed up and split them up. They had that awful feud with the New Day that should have been, again. I'm still fine with the New Day being longest reigning tag team champions, but to me, when they feud with the OC, that's when they should have dropped the tag titles. They should have dropped them to Gallows and Anderson for sure. But then they goofed that up. They had that stupid storyline. Well, first off, again, they tried to bring comedy out of Gallows and Anderson, and once again, comedy is not meant for everybody. The ring post-itis stuff was alright, but I say, the retirement homes, I'm like, okay, no, cut this. And then the old day, remember that segment, guys? That very insulting toilet humor segment, just making Vince, oh god, it was just a nightmare. That, I think, was definitely, clean cut dead for them right there. That was, I think, whenever the club was just, that was it. They were just never able to recover after that. They weren't even on TV for most of 2018. In 2019, they went back over to Raw, though. Well, actually, there was one point where they teamed up with Finn Balor, but they never did anything that spectacular. Even when they were tag champions, they never felt like anything spectacular. And then they got back together with AJ, and to me, it felt like they weren't able to recover, and it wasn't supposed to be the same as it was before. And they just kind of watered down AJ. I hate to say it, but ever since AJ turned heel after his feud with Ricochet ended, I feel like AJ's been on probably the weakest run of his career in WWE, unfortunately. So now they kind of they're gone, and AJ's still around. Well, once he heals up a little bit and sells his, buried alive loss to Undertaker, I'm kind of hoping this is where AJ gets back on track. Because he can be a badass singles heel by himself like he was in 2016 when he first went to SmackDown. He definitely can do it. I just hate to say it, but whenever the time comes, I kind of hope Gallows and Anderson just go back to New Japan. I think, that's where, they belong. I think that's where they excel the most. Yes, I'm glad they gave it a shot in WWE, but to me, it just did not work out. But once again, out of these circumstances, I hate to see them lose their jobs this way. Again, though, it just was not a good run for them for sure. So they were let go. And then finally, to me, the biggest name, well, of course, besides Kurt Angle, out of all these releases, but again, Kurt Angle was just a backstage personnel who just completed his WWE career. But to me, the biggest name I felt, well, that I, saw it coming probably, but I felt there was a chance he may have resigned, which I think he would have if, this didn't happen because his wife is still there. But the biggest name I think of all these releases, in my opinion, was Rusev. Rusev was released. He has not been seen on TV ever since he took another loss to Bobby Lashley. Rusev re-signed last year and basically let WWE have some storyline where they had his wife making out with another random dude. And it was just atrocious. It was a horrible storyline. Rusev should have been a main eventer. No doubt about it. I don't know where he's going to go once, options start coming up again, but he's also, I hope, does not go back to WWE at this point, because he was just booked like crap. I mean, yes, he had the great start with the great run as United States Champion. When he first came up from NXT, the undefeated streak, he was a dominating monster. He even though he had kicked John Cena low and got him to pass out, he had beaten John Cena at Fastlane. But then they had a rematch at WrestleMania 31, and it just felt like, a match of okay, you knew it was going to happen. John Cena was going to become United States Champion, and that's what the match told. There was no drama in the match. I remember Cena won after, and then they broke Luna. Sorry, way too much Harry Potter. Rusev and Lana up just for that storyline that started off good with Dolph Ziggler and Lana, and then Rusev and Summer Rae, but then that got awkward, and then their engagement got leaked on TMZ, and then that blew up, and then Rusev and Lana were basically reduced to nothing. Rusev got over though with Rusev Day. They tried to sabotage it, having them being heels until they gave in, but then they just gave Rusev nothing to do pretty much, for like the longest time. Randomly paired him with Shinsuke Nakamura, and then he took time off, came back again. The whole story with Lashley and whatnot, and then he kept losing to Lashley, and then I pretty much figured, even though I was under impression he was going to resign since Lana resigned, but he did not. He got cut loose, and again, once more opportunities open up, I do hope he goes somewhere else and gets the respect he most definitely deserves. But with Lana still being with WWE, it may not surprise me if he resigns, which I kind of hope he does not, because he again deserved to be booked much, much, much better than he was, unfortunately. But yeah, guys, that is it. That's a list of all the releases that happened yesterday with the staff and the wrestlers. Again, all of them were confirmed except for Cassius Ohno. Again, Cassius Ohno was moved to the alumni section though, but there's still no reports out yet about him being let go by the company. If there are any more releases, of course, I will come up here and do any more thoughts I have to do on this. But this, of course, was just the bulk of them that we got. So again, the list that we got again for backstage, or like producers, coaches, other staff. We have Kurt Angle, Hurricane Helms, Billy Kidman, Dave Finley, Pat Buck, Sean Daivari, Scott Armstrong, Sarah Stock, Lance Storm, Mike Rotunda, Mike Chioda, Norman Smiley, Serena Deeb, Ace Steele, Kendo Kashin, Jerry Soto, Josiah Williams, John Questo, Alyssa Marino, and Andrea Listenberger, who again was the head writer for the Otis and Mandy Rose storyline. Again, the wrestlers, again, questionably Cassius Ohno, since he's on the alumni sheet, Alexander Dukasik, MJ Jenkins, Dorian Mock, Deonna Purrazzo, ouch, Drake Maverick. Again, he had a very emotional, video he left. Of course, other superstars have done so since, but I haven't gotten to watch theirs yet. Aiden English, Eric Young, Epico Primo, the Colognes, No Way Jose, No Way Jose, Heath Slater, I Got Kids, Sarah Logan, Eric Rowan, Zack Ryder, woo woo woo, Face of Facts, Kurt Hawkins, the man of the hour, the 25-year-old piece of gold, Leo Rush. Again, still to me the biggest surprise out of all these. EC3. Well, I mean, maybe also since EC3 is gone now, maybe he'll be able to go home and figure out what does EC3 mean. And also, he'll probably be able to find where are EC1 and 2. I still love that segment by him and Ambrose, the week after Ambrose first told WWE he was leaving, and it was leaked. Who are you? What does EC3 mean? Where are EC1 and 2? That was awesome. I love that segment. But EC3, Mike and Maria Kanellis, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson from the OC, and Rusev were all released yesterday due to the current pandemic going on. But again, if any more happen, I will come up here and give more thoughts on this. Let me see here. What we got here? Yes, Vince is stupid. Lashley. Bye-bye EC3. See you in TNA. Maybe. The OC was once to hold AJ down. I said before and said again, AJ don't need Gallows and Anderson. Rusev was buried by Lashley. Losing Mike Chioda made me sad to death. Made a lot of people sad to death for sure. He was a great referee. And don't forget, he faced AJ for the W. Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. AJ and Rusev had a match for the WWE Championship, which honestly should have been the main event of Extreme Rules 2018, because I was there on that show live. And that was a good match too. I actually liked that match that Rusev and AJ had for the WWE title. That was a really good match. And I laughed when Drake and R-Truth gained a 24/7 championship last year. it has points where it was funny, but at some points it's like, again, Drake Maverick is, being good on this show, bad on this show. It's just like the character inconsistency just drove me nuts. If he was a heel on both shows, I'm sure I would have enjoyed that stuff more. But then again, I'm like, okay, why is Renee Michelle still with the guy? Just my thoughts. But thank you for your thoughts in the live chat, Tyler, and earlier to Aiden H. But again, that's my thoughts, guys, on the releases yesterday on one of the darkest days of the year for wrestling, April 15th, 2020. Definitely a sad day for wrestling fans, but again, all who lost their jobs yesterday, I wish you all the best. Again, some may come back to WWE once this whole pandemic settles down, but there's definitely some that I do hope that finds the opportunity that they're going to be getting the proper respect that they deserve. So guys, that's going to do. What are your thoughts, guys, on all these releases? Leave thoughts down in the comment section below. Be sure as always to slap a like on the video, subscribe or comment to my channel, follow me on Twitter at DemandAirboy93, and that, guys, I'll probably see you tomorrow night for my SmackDown review. So until then, guys, have a great rest of your night. I will see you guys all tomorrow. Peace out, everybody.